Hello everyone. Today I will discuss and talk about the readers of the Sulu Sea. So, what is the readers of the Sulu Sea all about? The readers of the Sulu Sea is refers to a group of Muslim tribes, primarily Lanon, Balangini, and Tausong, from the southern Philippines who engage in the maritime raiding and slave taking in the Sulu Sea region for centuries 16th to 19th centuries. This raid targeted a settlement across the Southeast Asia. These groups were skilled seafarers with advanced shipbuilding techniques and effective naval tactics. Their actions are viewed differently by historians, some them as pirates, while others consider their action as a form of resistance against colonial powers, which are the Spanish and the later American, who sought to control the region. In short, the years of the Sulu Sea describe the history of these seafaring groups and their activities, highlighting the complexities of their action within the context of colonialism and regional conflict. This documentary film, produced by Octave Film in 1996, directed by Edzman Athman, and it also televised internationally by Discovery Channel and History Channel in 2008. The historical documentary Readers of the Sulu Sea focuses on the tribes of the southern Philippines, the Ilanan, Balangini, Samal, and the Tausong, and their maritime raids that spanned the 16th to 19th century. It means that the documentary Readers of the Sulu Sea it focuses on the Ilanon, Balangini, Samal, and Tausong tribes of the southern Philippines and their maritime raids from the 16th to 19th century. To proceed, these tribes often depicted as brutal pirates and slave raiders challenged colonial powers including the Spanish in the Southeast Asia. There were skilled sailors using fast warship and deadly weapons such as the barong creese and campilan. It means that these tribes, often seen as brutal pirates and slave raiders, challenged colonial powers like the Spanish in Southeast Asia. There are skilled sailors using fast warship and weapons such as the barong creese and campilan. Southeast Asian tribes who fought against European colonizers. These tribes were skilled sailors and warriors, using fast boats and weapons like the Barong Trees and Campilan to resist the Spanish and the other colonial powers. In simpler term, these tribes weren't just pirates. They were fighters who used their seafaring skills and weapons to fight back against the colonizers who were trying to take over their land. What is the uses of those weapons? Barong, a type of large knife or sword, like used in close quarters combat, both on land and possibly aboard ships. Chris, a wavy bladed dagger known for its ceremonial and spiritual significance, but also effective as close combat weapon. And last is kampilan. Kapilan is a long, curved sword ideal for slashing and cutting attacks, potentially useful in both land and sea battles. These weapons were used for self defense and to fight against the more advanced weaponry of the colonial forces. This represents the tribe's determination to resist colonial rule. To proceed, the documentary explores how these tribes protected their culture, religion, and power against European colonizer and their influence on the region. Meaning, the documentary explores how certain tribes protected their culture, religion, and power against European colonizers and their influence on the regions. This means that the documentary focuses on the resistance and the resilience of these tribes in the face of European colonialism. It will likely show how these tribes actively preserve their cultural identity, religious belief, and social structures, despite the pressure and attempts at assimilation by colonizers. The documentary will probably explore various methods and strategies they used to maintain their autonomy and protected their way of life. To proceed, the film also sheds light on how the raids were not only motivated by economic and social reasons, such as the accusation of slaves and goods, but also as acts of anti colonial resistance. It means that the film explained that historical raids weren't solely driven by economic and social factors like acquiring slaves and goods, but also served as acts of anti colonial resistance. The film represents more complex view of historical events, while raids may have resulted in taking of slaves and goods. The film argues that this action should be understood as form of rebellion against colonial rule. These raids weren't simply about economic gain, they were also a way for the people to fight back against oppression. This provide more interpretation of the historical context and motivation behind the raids. To proceed, let's now tackle the historical background of this documentary film, The Readers of the Sulu Sea. The film highlights the rule of Port Pilar and Zamboanga as the last stronghold on the Spanish in their defense against the Moro resistance in the Sulu Sea region. It means that the documentary highlights the Port Pilar in Zamboanga City. It was the Spanish last major base in their fight against the Moro people who resisted Spanish rule in the Sulu Sea area. What is the main reason why the Port Pilar built? The primary reason Port Pilar was built in Zamboanga City, Philippines was to defend Spanish settlements against Moro pirate attacks, while it later became a significant religious site and a symbol of city history. Its initial and most crucial purpose was military defense. The port provided a strategic stronghold to protect Spanish colonies and their interests from raids and incursions. To proceed, the documentary touches upon how the Spanish sought to colonize the Philippines, control trade, and spread Christianity, while the Moros fought to maintain their influence and control over the regions. It means that the documentary shows how the Spanish tried to take over the Philippines, control trade, and spread Christianity. At the same time, the Moro people fought to keep their power and influence in the region. To proceed, it also challenges the portrayal of these tribes as mere pirates, proposing instead that they were defending their way of life from foreign occupation. It means that the documentary challenges the idea that these tribes were simply pirates. It suggests their way fighting to protect their way of life from foreign control. To proceed, the film also includes the story of Panglima Taupan, a captured Balangini leader, and his family exiled to Cagayan in the north of Luzon, showing the long-lasting impact of these raids. The documentary also tells the story of Panglima Taupan, a Balangini leader who was captured, and how he and his family were sent to Cagayan in northern Luzon. And these parts show a long-term effect on the raids. Today, let's proceed to the relevance of the film to the Philippine history and modern times. To proceed, the film offers a nuanced understanding of Philippine history, particularly regarding the Moro people's resistance to Spanish colonization. It reveals the complex dynamic between colonizers and indigenous people, in the Philippines, emphasizing the strategic importance of the Sulu Sea as a trading route and the efforts of local tribes to maintain autonomy. It means that the documentary gives a more detailed look at Philippine history, especially the Moro people's resistance to Spanish colonization. It shows the complicated relationship between the colonizers and the native people, highlighting the Sulu Sea's importance as a trade route and the local tribes' efforts to maintain their independence. Proceed in modern times, the documentary remains relevant as it highlights the ongoing conflict between Christians and Muslims in the regions. It means that the documentary is still relevant today because it highlights the ongoing conflict between Christians and Muslims in the regions. To proceed, the historical power imbalances and territorial disputes persist today, reflecting the legacies of colonialism and struggle for self-determination among indigenous groups. It means that the documentary shows that the historical imbalance of power and land disputes continue today. These problems as the result of colonialism and the native people's struggle for self-determination. Now let's talk about what is the purpose of the documentary. To proceed, the documentary delves into the history of three southern Philippines tribes, the Ilanon, the Balangini Samal, and the Tausug, and their resistance to Spanish colonization. And these tribes were known for their strong seafaring skills and powerful political influence, and this made them important players in the history of piracy, not only in the Philippines but also in the Southeast Asia. To proceed, the three main Muslim tribes in the region are first is the Balangini Sama. This ethno-linguistic group comes from the Solo Archipelago and Zamboanga Peninsula. They were known for their seafaring skills and for raiding coastal settlements and trading ships. Second is Elanons, Iranon, or Elianon, closely related to the Maranao and Maguindanao peoples. They were known as the first pirates in the Malay region. They live along the coast of Maguindanao, Zamboanga, and even Borneo. Lastly is the Tausug tribe, the most prominent ethnic group in the Sulu archipelago, known for their strong political and religious systems. They were among the first to convert to Islam and were well known as sailors, traders, and warriors. To proceed, while these tribes were labeled as pirates, they were actually engaged in the slave trade, capturing people from coastal settlements rather than raiding at sea. Their swift boats, manned by numerous oarsmen, were so fast that even Spanish galleons struggled to catch them. Which means that although these tribes were called pirates, they were actually involved in the slave trade, capturing people from coastal settlements. Their fast boats with many oarsmen were so quick that even Spanish galleons had trouble catching them. In conclusion, discussing the readers of the Sulu Sea provides a valuable opportunity to understand the complexities of Philippine history, the role of the maritime power in the region, and the enduring legacy of resistance against colonialism. It is a story of both conflict and resilience, and it offers insight to a cultural and political dynamic that continue to shape the Philippines today. Goodbye and thank you, everyone. Thank you for listening.